Durham police make multiple arrests after grandparent scams plague the region. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Durham, Kawartha Lakes. The Durham Regional Police Service, DRPS, made multiple arrests in regard to a grandparent scam, which was spreading around Durham and the Greater Toronto Area, GTA. On Wednesday, December 7th, the DRPS announced they had arrested and charged 4 suspects for targeting seniors in Durham Region and across the GTA in grandparent scams, resulting in more than $37,000 in losses. In each case, the senior victim received a phone call from a person alleging their grandchild was involved in a police investigation, oftentimes an accident. The suspect would tell the victim their grandchild would be held in jail unless cash was provided for their release. The suspect would arrange for a bondsman or courier to attend the home and pick up the money, the DRPS press release added. 22-year-old Dominic Alexander Connell of Brampton, 20-year-old Kamar Minto of Hamilton, 23-year-old David Ma of Quebec, and 27-year-old Faoud Jama, who has no fixed address, all face charges of participating in a criminal organization, fraud over $5,000, and possession of proceeds obtained by crime over $5,000. David Ma faces an additional charge of possessing a forged passport. Investigators were able to identify 3 victims and believe there may be others who have not reported it to police, the press release added. Earlier this month, the Kawartha Lakes Police Service, KLPS, was made aware of a victim of a grandparent scam. On Friday, December 2, 2022, a victim attended the Kawartha Lakes Police Service to report she had received a call from her daughter about her being in jail and requiring money to be released. The victim was provided with an account number and deposited $5,000 before attending the Ontario Court of Justice in Lindsay and learning it was a scam, KLPS stated in a press release. The KLPS also had some advice for people who receive these types of calls, such as not providing any personal information, not handing any money over, and remembering police will never go to your door to ask for money, nor would they ask money to be given to a courier. Remain calm during the call and check the facts with family members.
Operation Scugog, helping the community wherever and whenever they can. Courtney McClure, The Standard. Scugog. The local food bank, Operation Scugog, has helped many people throughout the Scugog community for decades. Karen Teed, a volunteer with Operation Scugog, has volunteered with the food bank for at least 20 years, and she enjoys the work she does for the community. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, Operation Scugog has been handing out grocery store gift cards to people who use the food bank. The gift cards, for all the local grocery stores, were distributed around early November so people could use them in time for the approaching holiday season. The donations come from town, so we spend them in town, Ms. Teed explained, talking about the gift cards. The gift cards are for all the local grocery stores, such as Food Basics, Voss's Independent, and Foodland. Ms. Teed said, Operation Scugog is very fortunate because other members of the community make generous donations to the food bank. Operation Scugog receives most of its donations during the holidays, such as Thanksgiving and Christmas. We have always said, the more we have, the more we give, said Ms. Teed. She explained, Operation Scugog receives a lot of donated canned goods, which they appreciate. However, they always need hygiene products like baby diapers, adult diapers, shampoo, conditioner, and other toiletries, as well as snacks, often meant for kids like juice boxes, which are always appreciated. Operation Scugog also gives out a lot of canned meat and canned fruit, so they are almost always in need of those items. Ms. Teed explained, Operation Scugog has been helping to ensure students at local schools receive snacks. We help out wherever we can. Operation Scugog also helps people with emergency assistance, such as individuals who had their home's electricity and power cut off because they could not pay their bills. A person in these circumstances can come to Operation Scugog and fill out an application for emergency assistance. Then, volunteers at the food bank would help this person review their expenses and figure out what the food bank could do to help them. Operation Scugog has about 200 people, including families, who use their services. Right now, their volunteers are focusing on supporting families and individuals through the holiday season. Currently, Operation Scugog has about 20 volunteers. Like Ms. Teed, many have volunteered with the food bank for many years. Although they aren't looking for more helping hands right now, Ms. Teed suggested interested persons can give Operation Scugog a call in the new year to express their interest and see if they are accepting volunteers. If you are interested in making a monetary donation, check or cash, to Operation Scugog, you can pay them a visit at 593 Alma Street in Port Perry. You can also donate online through canadahelps.org by selecting Operation Scugog from their list of charities. For more information about Operation Scugog, please email operationscugog@gmail.com or call 905-985-3087. Ontario government allowing pharmacists to prescribe Paxlovid. Dan Kearns, The Standard. Durham, Kawartha Lakes. The Ontario government is expanding access to Paxlovid, an antiviral treatment option for COVID-19. At a press conference on Thursday, December 8th, Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones announced pharmacists in the province will now be able to prescribe Paxlovid to their clients. In a press release, the Ontario government stated, "These prescriptions will be made to eligible individuals in person or virtually, such as by telephone, at no cost." This change will expand access, offer increased protection to our most vulnerable, and mitigate pressures on the province's hospitals, Minister Jones explained at the press conference. But she also stressed the importance of vaccination. Vaccination continues to be the most effective way we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from the most serious effects of COVID-19, as well as the flu. This is why healthcare professionals continue to strongly recommend all Ontarians stay up to date with their COVID-19 vaccinations, get their flu shot, and wear a mask indoors in crowded settings. The press release noted conditions which qualify eligible recipients for access to Paxlovid include having symptoms consistent with COVID-19, having a positive COVID-19 test, and if the person is 60 years of age or older, being an immunocompromised person who is 18 years of age or older, or is an individual who is 18 to 59 years of age and at a high risk of severe COVID-19 outcomes, including having chronic medical conditions such as diabetes, heart or lung disease, or inadequate immunity against COVID-19. Paxlovid will still be available through physicians or nurse practitioners, as well as clinical assessment centers.
Durham police make multiple arrests after grandparent scams plague the region. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Durham, Kawartha Lakes. The Durham Regional Police Service, DRPS, made multiple arrests in regard to a grandparent scam, which was spreading around Durham and the Greater Toronto Area, GTA. On Wednesday, December 7th, the DRPS announced they had arrested and charged 4 suspects for targeting seniors in Durham region and across the GTA in grandparent scams, resulting in more than $37,000 in losses. In each case, the senior victim received a phone call from a person alleging their grandchild was involved in a police investigation, oftentimes an accident. The suspect would tell the victim their grandchild would be held in jail unless cash was provided for their release. The suspect would arrange for a bondsman or courier to attend the home and pick up the money, the DRPS press release added. 22-year-old Dominic Alexander Connell of Brampton, 20-year-old Kamar Minto of Hamilton, 23-year-old David Ma of Quebec, and 27-year-old Fao Jama, who has no fixed address, all face charges of participating in a criminal organization, fraud over $5,000, and possession of proceeds obtained by crime over $5,000. David Ma faces an additional charge of possessing a forged passport. Investigators were able to identify 3 victims and believe there may be others who have not reported it to police, the press release added. Earlier this month, the Kawartha Lakes Police Service, KLPS, was made aware of a victim of a grandparent scam. On Friday, December 2, 2022, a victim attended the Kawartha Lakes Police Service to report she had received a call from her daughter about her being in jail and requiring money to be released. The victim was provided with an account number and deposited $5,000 before attending the Ontario Court of Justice in Lindsay and learning it was a scam, KLPS stated in a press release. The KLPS also had some advice for people who receive these types of calls, such as not providing any personal information, not handing any money over, and remembering police will never go to your door to ask for money, nor would they ask money to be given to a courier. Remain calm during the call and check the facts with family members. CUPE workers vote to ratify a bargaining agreement with the province. Dan Kearns, The Standard. Durham, Kawartha Lakes. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUPE, Ontario members, will remain working in schools. Recently, the union announced their members voted to ratify a collective bargaining agreement with the province of Ontario. Of those who took part in the vote, CUPE's Ontario division stated 73% voted in favor of the deal. The tremendous engagement of members in the bargaining process is an unprecedented organizing achievement in our movement. The proof lies in the fact nearly 4 times more members voted in this ratification than voted in 2019's ratification ballot. Right to the end of the process, members have shown themselves to be committed, involved, and determined to have their voices heard, read a statement from CUPE Ontario. Voting on the Ontario government's offer started in late November and ended on Sunday, December 4th. A tentative agreement had been reached on Sunday, November 20th, but it required ratification from union members to become official. This collective agreement is our first in 10 years, to be freely bargained instead of forced on us with legislative interference, Laura Walton, CUPE's president of Ontario School Boards Council of Unions, OSBCU, said in a press release. It's the product of democracy in action, workers having the freedom to negotiate and to withdraw our labor if necessary. For the last week and a half, 55,000 frontline education workers considered whether the tentative agreement their bargaining committee negotiated is acceptable, and the majority said yes. In an emailed statement, Ontario Education Minister Stephen Lecce reacted to the news of the ratification of this agreement. Since negotiations began, we have been guided by the belief kids should be in class. We are so pleased we've been able to reach an agreement which has been overwhelmingly ratified by the members, which keeps kids in classrooms and preserves the learning experience like clubs and extracurriculars. CUPE workers include secretaries, clerks, technicians, custodial and maintenance staff, and educational assistants.
Put your trust in God this Christmas, not humanity, by Tina Y. Gerber McCurley. I miss my mom every day, but this time of year is extra challenging. I often reflect on the lessons she taught me. For me, she was the salt of the earth. I remember being a young child, sitting on her lap at the United Church. There was no way I wanted to be in Sunday school. I truly believed God was upstairs with the adults. That Sunday, I would test my theory. I wriggled from my mother's lap and quickly ran to the front of the church, where the minister was delivering his sermon. There we were, face to face. He looked down at me. I could see my mother silently but quickly coming down the aisle, sighing, wearing her hat and white gloves. She was a real beauty in those days. Mother always had a way about her. The minister gently patted my head as he continued. I threw back my leg and kicked him as hard as I could. I caught everyone off guard, including him. My 4-year-old brain wanted to see if he was actually connected to God. Very few people knew I had grown up in a violent home before moving to Port Perry in the 1970s. I remember the minister commenting about God and the idea perhaps the delivery of his sermon wasn't the right message for the day. The entire congregation laughed. I thought, okay, he must be the real deal. It seemed strange when my mother and stepdad decided to marry on my birthday in 1972. Mother had asked the minister of this United Church to marry them. Accordingly, they both attended some counseling sessions beforehand. I remember the minister saying they could not marry in the sanctuary because Mother was now divorced. It was odd because this was the same minister who counseled my mother during the years she feared for her life in our violent home. That was the way of the church back then, make every effort to stay together for the family. Today, they advise separation during this extreme, and if people don't change, reach out to get counseling, and maybe attend peer accountability groups, then choices can be made, and divorce may follow. We all have challenges and struggles, whether a lost friendship, abuse, a cheating spouse, or even sometimes being at odds with a church member. The bottom line in all of these scenarios is trusting God. Relying on God is, first, the process of admitting to ourselves we don't have all the answers. Next, it's committing yourself to talking to God in prayer. In every situation, this requires trusting God and not the judgment of man. This means even our own assessment of things. I know this makes a tangible difference in my life. We really all need God every step of the way and in every breath we take. I believe everything we are, everything we have, is a gift from God. Bible verses about counting on God and the stories they are found within will assist you and help you discover ways to live a life of real genuinity. The Bible is clear about how striving for our own power and strength leaves our life empty and without meaning. All the heartache and abuse my mother endured was used to serve as an example of her faith and trust in God. I wanted that experience of learning to focus on God, not problems. She was able to dig out of the hurt and break through the bitterness and anger by releasing herself to God's nurturing love. I wanted to know this loving God. Frequently, we hide our conflicts and offenses, pretending all is well. Many may even leave the church, since people let them down. Friendships can be fractured, and some may even give up on God. But thankfully, God is faithfulness itself, and as such never gives up on us. Our pain is buried below the surface, where it can fester like an infection if we don't yield it to God's healing love. My mother did this and found wholeness and peace. In the Bible, in Jeremiah 17, 5-8, it says, "This is what the Lord says, Cursed is the person who trusts in mankind, who makes flesh their strength, and whose heart turns away from the Lord. They will be like a bush in the desert, and they won't see when good comes. They will dwell in parched places in the wilderness, a land of salt without inhabitants. Blessed is the person who trusts in the Lord, making the Lord their trust. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by a stream. They won't fear when the heat comes, and their leaves will be green. In a year of drought they won't be concerned, nor will they stop producing fruit." Please, if you stopped attending church because people have hurt you, are hypocritical, or you felt they didn't or you didn't measure up, know that Satan, the enemy, has you right where he wants you. Remember, God is always with us in all circumstances, and in all situations, you can put your trust in him.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.